Welcome to the Secret Livestream. There is dysfunction. There's a lot of dysfunction, isn't there? Degeneracy is another name for this dysfunction. We live in a degenerate world. What would be the opposite of being a degenerate? Being a regenerate. So we gather on these live streams as regenerates, not as degenerates. Once upon a time, it was framed as cool or as alternative or badass to engage in destructive behaviors. Ooh, so rebellious, right? Well, now that the world at large is degenerate, now the alternative hip lifestyle would be one of regeneracy. We are able to regenerate ourselves. Not necessarily in a sci-fi manner, regenerate an arm. But I'm speaking of regenerating the life inside of you and recirculating it. A consistent vehicle for life. That's what a living soul is. So there is dysfunction. And it's very degenerate. What are we to do? I received a comment the other day. I have all these synchronicities. I feel Sophia. I know we're in some kind of matrix. And yet, how do I escape? Now, first of all, how the fuck would I know how you can elevate yourself out of Earth School? How you can graduate, perhaps? Why the fuck would I know? That being said, it does us no justice to look at this situation as one which requires specific actions or perspectives. If ascension, if finding freedom is necessitated through a rubric of requirements, then it's not an authentic walk we're walking. It's not an authentic path we're walking. If we keep desperately looking for the path, where do you think you are? At square zero? Even if you're at square one, you're on a path. But I'd like to get to the end of the path. It's common wisdom that the destination isn't anything without a journey. Escapism has its roots in not embracing one's life, not embracing one's actions and thoughts and interactions, and so on and so forth. When we aren't at ease with what we're doing, with what we're speaking, with what we're being, with who we are being, then it's very easy for us to throw up our hands and say, I've had it with this world. Whenever you have claimed, I've had it with this world, what you really meant is, I've had it with myself. Extreme self-responsibility is something that the word love does not really point to. This is why love, while it is a virtue, isn't, in my lexicon, considered to be really anything. Mostly because of how the term has been abused. Love, it slips off the tongue in such a way that requires nothing, not even an authentic essence behind the word love. Extreme self-responsibility is where we arrive at when we're living out the principle of as within, so without. This is the most important principle. As within, so without. It applies to every situation and every experience. Here, now, there, everywhere, and beyond. Meaning, all realities are magic mirrors because the self is infinite. Selfhood, godhood, it's the same thing, basically. You know, this idea that we need to lose our ego is funny when we apply the same logic to, like, the monotheistic God. Let's just visualize an Old Testament scenario where God's booming voice erupts, and you shall kill your first son, or something like that. Hey guys, don't you think God's being kind of egotistical? Hey God, don't you think you're being a bit egotistical? Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay. Bad joke. Humor. I'll make this claim. Humor is the only divine quality in man. Without humor, which is the same thing as levity, without a sense of lightness, there is no truth. I find it so funny that the religious, spiritual world at large is approaching the cosmic with a stick up the butt. with a rat up the ass. What's your problem? I mean, I'm down for a really nice hymn, some really great silence. However, without humor, that silence is dead to me. That hymn is dead to me. Humor is the only divine quality in man. So, if I would give you a list of virtues, if I were to give you my list of virtues, it would go 1, discipline, 2, discernment, 3, humor. Where's love and compassion and empathy? It's somewhere. It's somewhere there. Maybe 8 or 9, maybe 5 or 6. But the 3 top virtues in my book, virtues, are discipline, discernment, and humor. Discipline, because without discipline, we're out of control. Without discipline, we're interacting with this world in a sloppy way, in a way that isn't very mindful. In my observation, I find it's not that beings have a lack of love, it's that beings have a lack of discipline. Most everyone has love. Most everyone is willing to spread it. Most everyone, to some capacity. But there are very few who truly discipline themselves and take it upon themselves to elevate, rather than homogenize themselves with the world at large to elevate. This is why when we speak of ascension, if we are not first and foremost speaking of it in terms of the esoteric inner journey, we are actually speaking of nothing. We're speaking of some kind of fantastical fantasy, like the sky ripping open or something, and us just deserving it. This perspective is incomplete. It doesn't realize that the sky opens, literally and metaphorically, when you've elevated yourself to such a degree that you figuratively break that glass ceiling. And no, I'm not speaking of feminism. This world right now wants to get you in a tizzy, wants to get you very, very frustrated with the circumstances. It's pretty obvious that all of this talk, all of this back and forth between what's constitutional, what's not, what's right, what's medically right, and what's not. These are the dualities here that bind us. So watch the show. You can watch it. I wouldn't recommend playing a role. Of course, My opinion on protesting is not very popular. I say there's no use in begging others to give you freedoms. Just walk free. It's simple. It's too simple, though. The truth is always simple. I could sit here and tell you, okay, so we have this timeline and we have that timeline, and that's the more perfected timeline. And we have to learn how to connect and bridge the timelines by oscillating the electromagnetic frequencies within and without to vibrate to the sacred geometrical codes. It's like, well, aren't those just empty words, really? I mean, to me, they are. Solve yourself. It's a puzzle, isn't it? Ha ha ha. Gets kind of confusing. Gets kind of difficult. Like, okay, I finally found this one piece. I'm like, okay, well, where does it go? So there's a mystery here. I say let the mystery continue because the mystery is an energy. It's not an incompletion. Many see something mysterious as incomplete. It's like, well, we need to lift the veil to the mystery. But mystery as an energy, it's a pretty cool energy, right? It's like, oh, I don't exactly know. I don't exactly know, but I know. For instance, it absolutely makes sense that as living souls, we're going through this process. It makes complete sense. The way the world is translating itself via our alchemical pursuits makes complete sense. But if you were to chart it out on a map or on a graph or using statistics or all these high and mighty references, then one is just overemphasizing the intellect. This is why we speak of the principle awareness above intellect. The intellect thinks it's oh so fancy. Oh my goodness, I can say all these words and I can piece together all of these long, big sentences that are so very titillating to your titties, that are so very collaborative with your coochie. But awareness just wants to get light speed to the simplistic, accessible truth without any excess so-called magic around it. It's a mistake we have all made to brand the divine with the kind of petty human emotions we can feel. For instance, we have ideas that God's upset at me or is jealous. You know, we have the idea of the jealous God. I'm pretty sure the divine is more expansive than carrying these dim-witted qualities. So the only way to really explain the divine would be to see it for ourselves. We are being explained how creation works and how it breaks down. in this matrix. And it's not a class that you're aware of being in, not all the time. But doesn't that mean you're really invested? We can say, well, sometimes I forget I'm in a dream. It's like, well, if you forget you're in math class and you're absorbed with the equations, then I'd say you're a pretty good student. However, there is a bitch called cause and effect. A beautiful queen, cause and effect, is she when we understand and use cause and effect to our advantage. However, cause and effect has a way of lasting. There are many beings who are currently in situations that feed them lots of stress and hardship due to decisions they didn't have to make in hindsight. So we have to deal with cause and effect here, as we do everywhere. Here, we're given some room to slip up. I was speaking to a being the other day, and she said, it's like we're given a grace period. But once you know, you can't act like you don't know. That's the danger of this kind of esoteric gnosis. It's that once you know and then you refuse to act on it, or once you know but you act like you never knew, that's called self-deception. That's called willful ignorance. Now, sometimes we make mistakes, and sometimes malevolence even just protrudes from us. For instance, in a fit of rage. There's a difference between conscious malevolence and unconscious malevolence. It's like the latter is a slip up, it's a mistake. The former is calculated. So, what is karma in this context? Cause and effect. We rack up karma when we refuse to see the causes of our effects and the effects of our causes. And we really rack up karma when the truth hits us and is even nurtured in us, and then we decide to try to kill it. So there's pressure right now in this world on many levels. And a lot of that pressure is coming from the true self who knows that the grace period is coming to an end. You can't act stupid anymore. You see the world is being destroyed. You see all of the cultural constructs you held near and dear. They're gone, eradicated, or at least retarded and devolved into autism. Okay, so your world has crashed. You still want to play stupid? This phrase I just said isn't exactly fluffy and loving, right? Wake up or pay the price? Is this something the divine would say? Oh, you bet. Oh, you bet. How dare we make the divine out to be a fluffy bunny when the divine is so multifaceted? Shame, shame. Likewise, to view the divine as some kind of mafia don who's going to put you in your place, that's also an illusion. Remember, what we say about the divine, we're saying about ourselves. So when people say, or they think, I feel like the universe is upset at me, or I feel like I messed it up, I feel like God's really upset or jealous or enraged with me or disappointed. When we do this, we are actually the ones who are disappointed in ourselves. We are actually the ones who feel as if we haven't been as complete as we could be. Interesting, right? Everything we say is a Freudian slip. Freudian slip, for those who don't know the phrase, especially you youngins who watch the channel. Freudian slip is a term which means like accidentally revealing something you wanted to be hidden through speech. Well, that's what all speech is. If you pay attention to your own speech and to others, you know exactly who they are. Because everyone is always telling you who they are. This world is always informing you what it is, nothing but a charade. Is it clear yet? Is it? How many drones have to muzzle themselves? How many illogical aspects of this odd pandemic have to occur? How many systems need to break down until you realize this is the cosmic showdown? This has nothing to do with human tyranny and agendas. And no. That's how these dualistic energies translate themselves in the physical. That's the translation. That's not the meaning. It's not the purpose. I'm on the side of Klaus Schwab. I've freaked out so many of you because of that. I mean, oh my goodness, the emails I got, saying I'm on the side of Bill Gates. I am. I'm not being rebellious right now. I literally beg them to continue this because this is exactly what we need right now. Is it ugly? Of course. But we've all had ugliness inside of us. And the only way for us to really transmute that back into beauty is to see such ugliness outside of us. It's perfect. It's the perfect storm. Now, I don't wish terrible things on anybody. I know it's not up to me. It's cause and effect leads to certain scenarios. We will always find, when we look at things from the highest level, we are the cause of all of our suffering. We alone. There's another truth along the same lines. There's no distinction between your mind and your perception. These are the paradoxes that can get us twisted up. I don't think they should, though. Because the universe runs on paradox. Now, because of that, I'm going to read a chapter from the Divine Paradox. Between the is and the isn't. That's where the all resides. But that doesn't make sense. Right. Okay. Everything needs to make sense. You keep making sense of what you want to make sense of, you cutie. So cute. They think they can intellectualize everything. This is the paradox of the universe, resulting from the principle of polarity, which manifests when the all begins to create. While to the infinite all, the universe, its laws, its powers, its life, its phenomena, are all things witnessed in the state of meditation or dream. Yet to all that is finite, the universe must be treated as real, and life and action and thought must be based thereupon accordingly, although with an ever understanding of the higher truth. What Hermeticists know as the law of paradox is, while the universe is not, still it is. Remember ever the two poles of truth, the absolute and the relative. Beware of half-truths. A dream is real, but a dream is fake. That's a paradox. And there's a paradox inside of all of us. We have these two archetypes of heaven and hell, of the angelic and the demonic. Light and dark. Now, this paradox, or this seeming contradiction, is actually no paradox, is actually no contradiction. How's that for a paradox? When we split, when we divide ourselves, when we take the 0 point, the truth of it all, and we divide it into opposing halves of light, dark, of good, bad. Yeah, we get into quite the hallucinatory state, and not one that is psychedelic, one that is pretty unaware. So let's go back to my 3 top virtues. We have discipline. We spoke about this. Without discipline in one's habits, one's lifestyle, one's body movements, etc., there's really no progression. I think an offshoot of the feminist movement, or the fat activist movement, was claiming, you're fine the way you are. You're perfect the way you are. Now, here's a paradox. Your true self is untouchable. So that perfection is never dead. But it can be forgotten about and buried by thick walls of deceit, of self-deceit. The number 2 virtue is discernment. Discernment is very crucial. What is discernment? What is discernment? Let's look up the textbook definition. The process of exhibiting keen insight and good judgment. When we are discerning, we are filtering what is resonant, what is extraneous, what is not optimum. To get to the greatest version of ourselves, we need to verify that there are certain modes of being that don't lead to that version. So we need to be discerning about our discipline, discerning about those in our lives, too, even with our attention. Especially with our attention. The shallow, depthless, new agey, fluffy bunny idea of love almost goes against discernment. Because to be discerning, it means you need to not love certain things, certain behaviors, certain expressions. To know what doesn't serve us. And we can judge that as not serving us. So I don't love everything. I don't have the energy to love everything. There are many things I don't love. And those things I won't feed love energy to sustain it. I shall vocalize, burn, go, die. And I say so with a smile. Why would I ask for death? The old needs to die for the new to raise. So we got discipline and discernment. 2 virtues which are rarely spoken about in society. In fact, they're usually deemed as kind of evil, right? Oh, discipline? Oh, that's tough. That's masochistic. Discernment? Well, speaking like a new ager, no, just love everything. No need for discernment or judgment or filtering what is what in your sphere. No. Number 3, humor. Humor. Now, I'm not talking necessarily about like stand-up comic jokes or knock-knock jokes. talking about the essence of humor. I don't know how anybody can stand these long satsangs from these religious and spiritual figureheads. And maybe I'm the strange one here. Maybe I just don't get the sacredness of what's happening there. But it's just humorless. Generally, it's very humorless. Which tells me there's nothing divine going on there. Not in my universe, at least. It's the only universe that should matter, your universe. Now, I say this not so we can inflate ourselves, cause havoc. Not so we can overinflate ourselves and say, I'm the king of the jungle. Do not misinterpret my words. I'm not suggesting to artificially elevate yourself as some kind of divine creature existing in your own perfected universe that's way greater, more perceptive than everyone else's. There's no need to position your universe against another's universe. All these fears right now that are circulating about shortages of food or of gas or of love or of a job because we got kicked out or something. Yeah. It's crazy. It's bumpy and there is fear there. But remember, fear's a liar. Fear's a liar. If you wish to prepare, I suppose you can prepare for what you assume is going to happen. Maybe it will happen. That'll be exciting. Do you trust the movement of creation? I do. I have to. There's no other option. It's impossible not to. We've gone this far. And movies are still being produced explaining this situation. I implore all of you to watch Free Guy. It is a new Hollywood movie. I know it looks stupid. I know it just looks like a bang bang, haha, we're in a video game. Oh no, oh no. If you watched my videos, you'll watch it and be like, oh, was Devin one of the writers of this movie? So I won't give the whole thing away, but spoiler alert, I will say, it has to do with waking up from an artificial reality and going to the original, true reality, which is way better, way cooler, not as destructive. Sound familiar? What does that sound like? It sounds like exactly what the fuck we've been talking about. So watch Free Guy. Not to mention, by the time they get to this so-called paradise, it was an hour and 44 minutes. We're in transition. There's nothing to fear about ascension or returning to a cosmic homeland. Come on. You can't be severed from your homeland. You can't be severed from your soul. I'm sorry, you're in a dream. Is it not obvious yet? So, we see degeneracy here. Let us be regenerates. Are you taking care of yourself? You know you're allowed to. Oftentimes we want others to take care of us, but we don't want to take care of us. Less wondering and more wandering. That's what I say. Sure, we can wonder, and maybe we should. But I doubt you'll ever find it unless you wander. Because, as the cliche goes, not all who wander are lost. So, yes, you're in a temporary game called Purgatory. It is a flat realm. It is a giant reflection of the universal mind cleansing itself, who are a part of this cleansing, are just like the beings in our dreams, just like the events in our dreams. And then as the world breaks down, we have no other option but to build ourselves back up, or at least confront what has been preventing expansion. I want to interject this live stream by saying, I'm aware that words are very limited. We can try our best to convey these things with limited words, but it'll still be kind of sloppy. So I'm aware that even my words are, kind of poo-poo, kind of inaccurate, kind of. And to that I say, oh well. Isn't it interesting what time does? Time is the great revealer. What does this mean? It means as time progresses, all is revealed. Let time do the damage here. Time is unmasking. the falsity and putting it open on display. What does that sound like? It sounds kind of like a eulogy to me. A eulogy to all of these twists and turns of our own psyche translated into these weird-ass things. Do we need more discussion of flat Earth? My answer is fuck no. That doesn't matter. Not really. Does it really matter about how this scripture in the book of Revelation connects with that and this event? There's all these breadcrumbs here. There's all of these glittery pathways with cold concrete dead ends. This is why discernment is crucial, because Maya is gonna trick your ass. And it's probably Maya. You know, we have this question, are they NPC? Like, is this a fabrication? Unanimously, yes. I mean, most likely the answer is always going to be yes, because we're in an illusion. No. Take what resonates, leave the rest. Who am I, huh? I'm just a bumbling buffoon on a screen. Where's the wisdom? Where's the wisdom? It's not here. It's in you. You're not going to find it in books. I disagree with just as many passages in the Kabbalion. In fact, I skimmed this the other day, and I was shouting at it. I'm like, what? No! I should have been in the editing room. You were close on the money, but... Why do we have to take these things as gospel? You know, there's this strange illusion when it comes to books and scripture and like religious texts, as if it's something transcendent and set in stone. The author who wrote this, I forget his name, but they actually found out who actually wrote this, not the three initiates. The author who wrote this in this book claims the all is mind. And then in the very next book he published, he went against that premise and wrote the whole book on how the all is not the mind. Well, this reads almost like a gospel. And you know what? Who cares? I disagree with some of Jesus's words. Is that blasphemous? Like, are we divinely obligated to revere something? No, we're not. I was speaking of hierarchy with a being the other day. And as you all know, I have a very different stance on hierarchy. Paradise has no room for hierarchy. Hierarchy is always an illusion. And this woman said to me, yes, but if I was in Hyperborea and there was a man who could breathe out universes with his breath, I would feel obligated to worship this person. My response is, yes, but what if you didn't like the universes he creates? I mean, not to mention, you would not be obligated to consider such a being anything. What video cameras are recording you and slapping you on the wrist for not identifying a particular association with a particular being? This is madness. This is madness. What is absent from all of these texts? Whether Hermetic or Christian or what have you. Well, what's the commonality? There's like zero talk about the sacredness of the body. Zero talk. In fact, you read these texts and you get the idea that, like being spiritually attuned is some kind of mental game. You know, just full of thinking and processing up here. What if the author or authors of this text were severely constipated when they were writing this book? If so, I would say it doesn't matter what's written in here. Again, an unpopular take. After all, we have fat gurus all over the place, but like all over the place, like everywhere, like they're all fat. Eckhart Tolle, fat. Now, it's not like I hate fat, but that's a reflection of not caring for oneself. You see, it means something deeper than just the appearance. It's common when one is feeling upset or bad. It's common to want to solve that feeling through mental means. That's what psychotherapy is. Psychotherapy assumes that you can just process, and through that integrate traumas. But what if that being is constipated? I'm using just an easy example. It sounds ridiculous, but it's not. It's like, most people have up to 12 meals still in their body. I mean, it's on the way out, but it's not as efficient and eliminative as it could be. Okay, so what is that being going to say about the divine? How are they going to interpret it with that kind of bodily obstruction? I can't see it happening. There's a reason why the body is not emphasized in this book, in the Bible, in anything. You'll get these treat the body well. It's like, what does that mean? What does that really mean? They never expound on it. And right now, whoever they are, you can call them the government or the black ones, the dark ones, the dark magicians. What do they want to do right now? They want to fuck up your body. That's what they want to do. So the body is the main battleground right now, not the mind. Injections and swabs and masks. Those disposable masks, by the way, have strange particles on them. Don't wear them. And by the way, don't muzzle yourself, period. Do something else. Have some integrity. So it's obvious that with this so-called medical tyranny, the body is being just ravaged. This should tell us the main focus right now should be on the body, healing the body, cleansing the body, building the body, moving the body, resting the body, stretching the body, breathing the body. You know how to do all of those things, and you have plenty of resources to do those things. Remember earlier I said the grace period is coming to a close? Yeah. We have tons of grace. Of course, there's tons of limitation, but there's plenty of information out there and resources too to go in that direction, even in this lockdown. Where are you when you're in the mind? Are you in the body? Where are you when you're absorbed in a song, in a movie? Sometimes you forget you're in a body. So when the mind is really activated, we can sort of dissociate from the body, at least a bit. This isn't necessarily harmful. However, if we're constantly doing this, which is the mode that this world advocates for, just be a spectator. If we do that, then we are giving up some discipline and connection with the body. And unfortunately, we get into all of these have-tos when we talk about discipline with the body. I know beings tense up and might want to say, yeah, but why do I have to? For instance, I have spoken about juice fasting before and other types of fasting. And we've seen the responses well, I don't have to do that. And you guys are making it I'm a bad person if I don't detox. And, for that kind of individual or interpretation, I have no defense. I mean, we all perform what we're called to perform. And while I advocate a disciplined life, if that's not your thing, honey boo, don't do it. I'm not holding you down. you're not paying for this live stream. But what's the other option? Like, that's the question we should always ask ourselves, right? Like, well, fuck this kind of like fasting lifestyle. I mean, and you're in therapy and like eating vegetables and stuff. I mean, I'm beyond the body, so it doesn't matter. Okay. If you're beyond the body and it doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter. But I like my intestines to be squeaky clean. Why? Why, you may ask? Oh, it has nothing to do with flexing my fasting muscles. You think anybody gets prestige for this kind of talk? I was featured in The Epitome of Malnourishment. Yeah, me. Do I look malnourished? I mean, I know a lot of these other beings in the video. I don't know what you guys have been doing, but obviously it's not working for you. But I felt like I was quite out of place in there, you know. But overall, what I'm wishing to convey in this moment is, if discipline intimidates us, then so be it. You know, a healthy, bright individual is the biggest fuck you to this world. Let me say that again. A healthy, bright individual is the biggest fuck you to this world. You want to be a rebel? You want to be different? I mean, or you just want to be a healed? Come on. Get that discipline going. You can do it. What's the other option, huh? Not? Sounds like a great option, yeah. Everybody just wants to feel healthy now. I mean, this topic, it's so fascinating given the current situation. Because everyone in the mainstream, you know, the masses, are generally fearful of sickness now. That's the fear now. It's the body not working correctly. Due to that fear, we'll do many things, even terrible things, to ourselves. So all anybody wants, really, is health. It's true. And I say this having met many millionaires. I think 1 or 2 billionaires, you know. And you know what I saw? Misery. Absolute misery. Why? Well, in the context of the body, all these people treated their bodies like dumpsters and had health problems. So they never felt rested in their own body. Therefore, they accumulate, want to mesmerize and control and have power over others. And what for, huh? Many of them get sick young and die young or younger. Everyone wants to feel healthy and vital. You know, we don't have to wake up feeling like poo-poo. That's this myth. It's like everyone wakes up like with a scratchy throat and like wanting to hit the snooze. Everybody feels that way. No, only poisoned people feel that way. I know there's a lot of bravado when it comes to fast food and junk food and like caffeine and stuff. And maybe there's even cultural things. Alcoholics usually have some kind of drunkard on their wall. Hunter S. Thompson, Jim Morrison, somebody. Without discipline, we grow ugly. Yeah. Beauty is number 4 in my list of virtues. Maybe I'll come out with a separate video of this when I actually map out these virtues, but beauty is up there. Discipline, discernment, humor, then beauty. And I mean beauty in all of its levels, on all of its levels. All beings in paradise are beautiful, within and without. So, if I can't appeal you with cleaning your intestines or something like that, maybe the fact that you'll be more beautiful. You'll be able to look in the mirror and be able to go, that's a fresh person. It's deeper than aesthetics. I don't know why we have poo-pooed aesthetics so much. Like, we all love beauty. We all do. I'm speaking of true beauty, not implant injection beauty. Well, what keeps us beautiful? Discipline. Nobody ever told you that. You know what makes us ugly? It's not our genetics. What makes us physically ugly is usually our own habits. I mean, almost nobody has like giant noses that are crooked or big boils. The problem is most people, it's just you got no muscle, you got too much fat. It's like, okay, that will make anybody look uglier. Now, I can hear the etheric whispers. Devin, Hermes, stop being so shallow. Who cares about what people look like? Who cares? Everything matters. The eyes are the windows to the soul. You can see somebody's soul when you're looking at them. The appearance is a big deal. And it gets more and more deadened the less disciplined we are with ourselves. It gets less and less grow up in this world, and they end up these like formless monstrosities. It's called cause and effect. It's like, well, you don't pay attention to the causes and effects when it comes to your body and your lifestyle. If you don't see yourself as a majestic sculpture that should be beautiful for the sake of the universe, to me, it's pissing on the divine if I am to lose my discipline, uglify myself, uglify my speech, uglify my lifestyle, become a degenerate. That's how you piss on the divine. So let's be regenerates here. Let's take it seriously, and seriously because we want to have fun. You see, while all of these concepts seem so heavy, it boils down to we want to party. Okay? Not get shit-faced and Connie passed out under the stairs. No, I'm talking about the true party, the true dance and song. How do we get into that? That's the mystery. But it's definitely not by complying with the degenerate ways of this world. What am I talking about? I'm talking about simple things. Simple things. Overconsumption, gluttony, any abuse you inflict on yourself, either with your sleep, with your food. I mean, there's only a few things. Abusing your sexual organs. It's pretty simple. But these are the fruits of this world. These are the glories of this experience. That's what you've been told. Food, sex, drink. Food, sex, drug. So carnal. Not to mention so smelly, too. These degenerate ways are very smelly. And hell, if we can visualize a hell, reeks. Right? I don't know, reeks of sulfur and brimstone or something. So, meat eating. The big elephant in the room. I get it. Eat what you want. I'm not here to reprimand you. But my take on meat eating is never moralistic. It's just gross. It's just not beautiful. It's just smelly. Ugh. That's where I draw the line. It's gross. It's disgusting. It's not beautiful. It's unaesthetic. Period. I don't need morality. None of us need morality to see something isn't beautiful or leads to more ugliness. There are non-player characters. We may call them organic portals. We may call them soulless beings. It is a truth of this world. And no explanation yet has done justice to the big question, why won't people wake up? Now, I'm the first one to know. This seems to be a very sociopathic perspective. Excuse my loud house phone. It is loud and it rings. And it is jolting to the soul. And it has interrupted my thought process. I actually have no idea what I was speaking of. And it continues. Great. My mind has been wiped clean. It doesn't matter what I was saying. Who cares? I could have wrote a book. I chose not to, and that made all the difference. Oh yes, we were speaking of organic portals, non-player characters. The big question in the room is, why won't people wake up? What's the deal? And every explanation thus far has been so incomplete. It's like, well, we're all on our own timelines, and they're at this level and you're at this level, and that doesn't make much sense. Not to me, at least. This is a process. This is a process where it's not a free-for-all where you can will yourself into the divine. That's the problem with all of these explanations of speaking of the masses. It's like, well, maybe if they realized they were divinity, then they would begin the journey of awakening. It's like, yes, but the point of awakening is that you are awakened by your inner essence. It's not a choice. We have not chosen to wake up. And we can only wake up if you've been sleeping. Sleeping means you cannot be sleeping. So, that explanation doesn't make sense for the masses because it fails to recognize that the process of ascension and being spirited, or just the essence of being a spirited being who is able to ascend, it means that ascension is directly cast into that being's experiences without will or conscious thought about it. We have all living souls have been ignited in certain moments, not through an act of will where we were trying to connect with something. I'll remind all of you, I never tried to have any of the so-called mystical experiences I've had and continue to have. They just happen. So people aren't lost and need to be found because they're not finding themselves, and that is proof in and of itself that there's nothing to find. So we reach the most dramatic conclusion. Not real, not eternal, temporary beings. And they have a function. They have many functions. Remember, because too many beings have watched my videos and then created channels on organic portals, calling them evil, sociopathic beings. It's like missing the mark. That's not what no. I'm not speaking of the bad guys of the world. That's not how I speak. I don't use those stupid dualistic phrases. Organic portals have two functions. One, to reflect to us what we're not through inverted ways of being. Two, to uphold the three-dimensional illusion while we're in the purgatorial process. The only way you can flesh out your psyche in order to purge is by creating non-player characters. You do this every night in your dreams, whether you remember them or not. Every character in your dreams is directly coming from you. You've had this experience your entire life. It should be nothing new then when I propose and inform the reason they're lost, won't wake up, got no sort of beckoning light of freedom. Well, it's because they're fake. They're not real. Ask people too. You can verify this. Start to talk about the transcendent. Right? This is just look at people's eyes, just glow hazy. watch as they fumble to just repeat some kind of religious belief or scientific atheistic summation, like, well, we're all just particles. Like, well, God's in charge. Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm not buying it. You can buy it, though. Now, why does this matter? I mean, really, like, why would me saying this have any effect? Who cares if people are real or not real? Well, this is why it matters. Because as long as we are seeing this realm as a realm where everyone is a completely souled individual, we got a problem. Because if that's really what's happening, oh, we got a big problem. If everyone is souled, and this is the expression of their soul, ooh, that's haunting, isn't it? Now, as long as we think everyone has the same essence as we have, we are going to treat this world with a kind of serious frame of mind. Overly serious frame of mind, because oh my goodness, did you hear about those people die from that terrorist attack? Oh my goodness, did you hear about those people who they were stolen from their families and they were taken here and there? Now, I don't appreciate hearing these stories, nor would I wish to perpetuate them. But have you ever thought that these are just hallucinations in your reality? Have you ever thought that maybe all of this mayhem that all of these beings are going through, it's not actually happening? And that they not being actual souled beings means nobody's really being harmed here. Not in the way where there's such violence that there's no turning back. But we hear about these things all the time. It's plastered in our face. What's the deal? New Age philosophy will say, we're all one, they're all you, and it's all love. And there's truth in that. Yes, all is connected and related. Consciousness has a reflectory and a refractory nature. Or maybe we should say reflective or refractive. Excuse my butchering of the English language, as I often do. So, to conclude, the fact that this realm is artificial to the bone means just let the hallucinations do their thing. Just let them do their weird thing. And it also means we can't really be inspired to be on the offense or defense with these beings. So Maybe some of you have been at protests or have organized them, and I think we're free. I mean, we should be free to do what we wish. But just know that you're just playing a game of opposition. Of we stand for freedom. Playing a game. Things get really weird in dreams when you like start to like pick on the characters. I've gotten lucid many times. And I noticed the lucidity can diminish the more involved you get with the dream, right? It's like, wait, I was lucid, but then I forgot I was lucid. Well, if you're signing up for a protest, you're forgetting you're lucid, because what are you doing? You're asking who for your freedom? Who? Who are they? Are they listening? That's not empowering. That's not empowering. In a land that wishes to inspire violence, the best option is to not be violent and be warring with those outside of us, but be violent to the core about our expansion. Violent about our expansion. You know what I mean? I'm violently opposed to anything that doesn't serve my greatest benefit. And yeah, I'll use the word violence because I got that hunger. It's not a hunger that can be quelled by anything in this world. It's a hunger for what's real. I won't stop until I get to taste it, because it's so tasty. Oh my goodness. Have you ever had a Hyperborean fruit? Have you? It's like 12 different flavors in one bite. It's like, I can't even eat half of this, a quarter of it. It's so nourishing. So destruction is the theme of the current times. Destroy what doesn't serve her, what doesn't serve me, what doesn't serve we. You know what serves we? The service of me. I wish to help others. This is a common statement. People say, I wish to help others. Have you helped yourself? Have you? Really? Have you? The wounded trying to heal the wounded? Could work. I'll never say never. Oh, I just realized that statement is a joke. I'll never say never. Oops. You just said it. You know what freaks me out about the hippie generation. The song White Rabbit. You know that song, Somebody to Love? Don't you want somebody to love? That kind of message is always so strange in music. I want somebody to love. I want somebody to love me. Just somebody come. Anybody, somebody, anybody. Are you that somebody? Are you that somebody? Okay, well, we'll end there. Take care. Thank you for joining us on the Secret Livestream. Keep up the great work. Discipline, discernment, humor, and beauty.